We are live. You can go ahead.
No? Yeah. Maybe a bit later. Is that okay?
We are live. Go ahead.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الأئمة والمهديين وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الأئمة والمهديين وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الأئمة والمهديين وسلم تسليما. Just doing a check. The video hasn't changed on the Facebook.
I think it should have done by now. Once again.
There's a lag. Now it's changed. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الأئمة والمهديين وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الأئمة والمهديين وسلم تسليما. اللهم مكن لقائم آل محمد في الأرض سيد أحمد الحسن سلام الله عليه وبقية الله في الأرض محمد بن الحسن المهدي عليهما أفضل الصلاة والسلام وأولادهما المنتجبين المصطفين الأخيار المهديين. اللهم اقض حوائجهم واحفظهم من كل سوء داء مكروه ريح قلوبهم وارزقهم الصحة والعافية ومد في أجالهم وطول أعمارهم وزد في بركاتهم واصلح أمورهم. Tonight is the 5th Majlis of Muharram. Inshallah, we're going to have a short talk about Sayyidah Zainab Salamullahi alayha. Before and after, there'll be some nasheeds and some nawha bidhnillahi ta'ala. صلى الله عليك يا مولاي يا رسول الله. صلى الله عليك وعلى آل بيتك الطيبين الطاهرين. صلى الله عليك وعلى ابن عمك شهيد المحراب علي بن أبي طالب عليه السلام وعلى بضعتك الطاهرة فاطمة الزهراء المظلومة المغصوبة وعلى ولدك السبط الحسن المجتبى المقطع الأحشاء ورابع أصحاب الكساء وعلى ولدك الحسين شهيد كربلاء ومسلوب العمامة والرداء. طبتم سادتي وطابت الأرض التي فيها دفنتم وفزتم هنيئا لكم. يا ليتنا نفوز بأهل ثاركم فيكون فوزا عظيما.
Your voice is gone, brother.
Yeah, we came to the end of the khutbah with a small introduction.
Okay. Should I start now? Reading. Bismillah.
Bismillah.
Abbas, how do I describe your bewilderment? And my heart has been severed, and it still lingers by the river bank. I stumble and lose clarity of thought. How can I find my way after your path? My heart has split into two halves. It conveys news from the sacred ground. Or the one struck by the arrows of my reproach. Abbas, you remained. In your demise, your sister's heart lingers. There, sleep peacefully. We, sacred sanctity, will tell your story. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. والمهديين وسلم تسليما كثيرا.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا عباس شلون تحيرت وانقطع قلبي، وظل يحوم على الشريعة وعيني على الخيام تربي. طحت يصبي البصيرة بالصين دلالي انجسم، ياخذ لك اخبار الحرم. يلتحت باسهام عتبي، عباس ظل بمصرعك قلب اختك يحوم يحنى لك نوم. So that was actually it's a famous Noha recited by one of the Iraqi Qurra reciters that describes the feeling of Sayyidah Zainab salamullah alayha when Abbas, Abul Fadl Abbas, they also call him Abu Fadl, when he had been martyred in Karbala. So the reason why we wanted to discuss Sayyidah Zainab salamullah alayha today is because her role isn't just confined to the fact that she is one of the prominent members of Prophet Muhammad's family, meaning she saw the Prophet Muhammad after she was born, and it's not only because of the fact that she's the daughter of Imam Ali and Sayyidah Fatima alayhim salam, and not only because she is close to her two brothers Imam Al-Hasan and Al-Hussein, but it's because of Sayyidah Zainab salamullah alayha's contribution to the preservation of Islam is, you could say, beyond anybody at a specific time in her life. Sayyidah Zainab is such a personality that she is respected by Sunnis and Shias, and even until today, many Sunnis actually call their daughter Zainab. And even in my own family, some of our ancestors would have the names of Fatima Bibi, Zainab Bibi. So it obviously shows that in the Sunni world and the Shia world, the name of Sayyidah Zainab is highly respected. Like we've said before, in these gatherings where we discuss the stories of the Prophet's family, it's very difficult to do justice to these individuals. You almost have a sense of guilt that we are discussing them and we don't really understand the high status of these individuals. These individuals have, sometimes history books don't even mention their stories fully. They don't cover their stories fully. And so you have to always go back to the Ahl al-Bayt to actually ask about the Ahl al-Bayt. So Ahl al-Bayt alayhimus salam would often say, أهل الدار أعلم بما في الدار, or أهل الدار أعلم بمن في الدار. People of the house know more about what is in the house, or people of the house know more about who is in the house. Sayyidah Zainab, salamun alayha, you can say I would say there are three types of people who have any relationship to Sayyidah Zainab. There is a person who loves Sayyidah Zainab and commemorates her difficulties that she faced and reads nasheeds, reads lamentations, remembering her. There is somebody who knows about her name but doesn't really read into her history. They just know that she's from a noble family. There's somebody who is indifferent. What does Sayyid Ahmed Al-Hasan say about Sayyidah Zainab, who we know that he has said quite a few things about Sayyidah Zainab. He said things in a way which were not really mentioned before. For example, in his book, the Kitab al-Tawheed, the book of monotheism, he dedicates at least some of the book to Sayyidah Zainab. How does he do that? He does that because in the beginning he says to Hussein ibn Ali and to all those who have testified and continue to testify with the suffering and blood for the sovereignty of God. This is how he actually opens up the book, a book of monotheism, Kitab al-Tawheed. Then he says, and to all those who, then he says to Zainab bint Ali. So let me just read the Arabic if you just allow me. He says, إلى الحسين ibn Ali وإلى كل من شهدوا ويشهدون بآلامهم وبدمائهم لحاكمية الله. إلى زينب بنت علي وإلى كل من شهدنا للحق وإلى من تعالت وتتعالى أصواتهن وهن يطالبن بحاكمية الله. أشهد أن شهادتكم كتبت وتكتب وسيسأل أعداؤكم ومخالفوكم فلنسألن الذين أرسل إليهم ولنسألن المرسلين فلنقصن عليهم بعلم وما كنا غائبين والوزن يومئذ الحق فمن ثقلت موازينه فأولئك هم المفلحون ومن خفت موازينه فأولئك الذين خسروا أنفسهم بما كانوا بآياتنا يظلمون. So what does this mean? This means that I dedicate this book to Hussein ibn Ali. On them both be peace. On them both meaning Imam Hussein and Imam Ali. And he dedicates it to those people who testified and continue to testify for the sovereignty of God with the suffering and the blood. And then he dedicates it to Sayyidah Zainab and to all those women who testify to the truth and to those women whose voices rise and continue to rise, demanding the sovereignty of God. And then he says, I bear witness that your testimony has been written and is being written, and your enemies and opposers will be questioned. Then he recites the verse of the Quran in his book. He says, فَلْنَسْأَلَنَّ الَّذِينَ أُرْسِلَ إِلَيْهِمْ وَلَنَسْأَلَنَّ الْمُرْسَلِينَ. We will surely question those to whom messengers were sent, and we will surely question the messengers. وَلَنَقُصَّنَّ عَلَيْهِمْ بِعِلْمٍ وَمَا كُنَّا غَائِبِينَ. We will narrate to them, we will relate to them with knowledge, and we were never absent. And the weighing of these on the Day of Judgment will be the truth. Or you can say, the act of weighing is real. So those whose scales are heavy, it is they who will be successful. And those whose scales are light, they are the ones who will lose themselves for what injustice they were doing towards our signs. Here, our signs, brothers and sisters, doesn't refer to verses of Quran. It refers to signs of God, which are the hujjas, imams, and the pious individuals from Prophet's family on earth. But why did Sayyid Ahmed Al-Hasan dedicate this book to not only Imam Hussein, but also the women who accompanied Imam Hussein? Because Sayyid Salamullah alayhi holds those women in high regard who stand up for the truth, who stand with the hujjah, who call towards the hujjah. If Sayyid Ahmed Al-Hasan holds them in high regard, then that means that God holds them in high regard. And what that means is that when God Almighty, He created the souls, He didn't handicap or regard the souls that were going to become souls for the women in any small way. In fact, there's evidence to say from Sayyid Ahmed Hasan that Sayyidah Fatima salamullahi alayha, she is the vessel of the Prophet Muhammad's knowledge. And there's a narration which says, Lawla Fatima lama khalaqtukuma, meaning if it wasn't for Fatima, I wouldn't have created Ali and Muhammad alayhim assalam. And also there are narrations from Sayyid Ahmed Al-Hasan that there will be women in the government of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam. And so that means that women in Islam don't have a lesser role in spreading the truth than men do. Yes, there are certain etiquettes that should be followed, but ultimately, when the Sayyid is saying that your testimony was witnessed and it will be witnessed, what he's saying is whoever stands for the truth, for justice among the women of the Ansar, the ones who support Sayyid Ahmad Hassan in this cause, their witness is also being written. And here, when it talks about we will ask the ones to whom messengers were sent, and we will ask the messengers, this is Allah, God Almighty's way of saying we will call everyone, we will judge. And basically, the messengers here doesn't just mean messengers who brought a new Sharia, a new religion. It also means messengers from Prophet Muhammad, who are the messengers from his family, who are the Imams and the Mahdis. So, and what else does Sayyid Ahmad Al-Hasan say about Sayyid Zainab? He says that Hussein sacrifices holy and noble blood in exchange for your blood. He sacrificed Zainab, the best of all women after her mother Fatima, from those who went before and those who will come after in exchange for your women and your possessions. And he sacrificed his infant breastfed child in exchange for your children. And Sayyid Ahmad Hassan also said, after the tragedy of Karbala, Zainab played a huge role in proclaiming the truth and exposing falsehood. And he also says, Sayyid Zainab was one of the reasons for the continuation of the Imamat and Divine Caliphate. So, despite losing her brother, despite losing her Imam and her family, and losing the best people on earth, meaning the companions of her brothers and her father, and all of this happened in an instant. He says she was an army and a nation all by herself. Sometimes in life, there's a lot of wisdom, statements of wisdom, which will say, for example, when you are buried, it doesn't mean that you are lost. It means your seed being planted. You probably heard this one. Sometimes they say God puts you through tests to make you shine, to polish you. Sometimes they say, some people they say, had Sayyidah Zainab, salamullah alayha, not been exposed the way that she had been exposed in Karbala, and after Karbala, we may never have truly got the wisdom from her that we did in the narrations. It's very poignant and it's very hard to sometimes fathom, because narrations say that the Zainab was never seen in public, and whenever she used to go out of the house, she used to be wearing a hijab covering, and she'd be accompanied by her two brothers and even her father, Imam Ali alayhi salam. So you can just imagine somebody who is surrounded by the best of creation on earth, how they must feel when she lost everyone, and she was the senior one in the family of Imam Hussein's. So much so that she even protected Imam Zain al-Abidin from being killed. That she even protected Imam Zain al-Abidin from being killed. That happened in the court of Ibn Ziyad in Kufa, and then in the court of Yazid Lanatullah alayhi. And I apologize, I'm jumping from parts of the story because, you know, we could sit all night and talk about the virtues of Sayyidah Zainab, but we don't have all night. So, and in the court of Yazid Lanatullah alayhi, she took on basically the Ummah. The Ummah had begun to follow Yazid, may God curse him forever, and she took him on single-handedly. And when you listen to her speech, you will find it on the internet. They say that when she spoke, she spoke like Imam Ali al-Islam himself. She took on Yazid and she argued with Yazid, and she made him look like the fool that he was. But because, unfortunately, this world always favors the despots, so this Ummah again abandoned the Prophet's family. But her eloquence is something supernatural. The women of Ahl al-Bayt, they would sometimes refer to them as alima ghayr muallama, like she has knowledge and no one ever taught her anything. So a lot of people actually, when they pray for help, they call out to Sayyidah Zainab and Sayyidah Fatima, both of them, and you'll be surprised how quickly your prayers are answered. So they'll call out to them to do intercession on their behalf, and it's a proven tradition coming all the way from Prophet's family. If you call out to them, to Al-Bayt, they actually intercede. God helps your requests reach them, and they pray on your behalf. This used to be the normal practice of the Muslim Ummah, the good Sunnis and the Shia, until Wahhabism took over the Muslim world. It was normal for people to make the journey to visit the graves of Sayyidah Zainab up in, as I understand, up in Syria, and Sayyidah Fatima salamu alayha in Al-Madinah Al-Munawwara. So surely the Prophet Muhammad must have known that Sayyidah Zainab would have a difficult life. Surely he was a prophet after all. And yes, he did know. He did know. They say that when she was born, Imam Ali alayhi salam took her to see the Prophet Muhammad, and he held her and he started to cry. And he said that Zainab, he indicated that Sayyidah Zainab would face a lot of hardship after Imam Ali and the Prophet left this world. And then it's narrated that Sayyidah Zainab salamu alayha, she had a dream once when she was young. And in the dream, she saw that there was a tree, and she was holding onto the branches of the tree. And this is the gist of the dream. And a strong wind came, and it began to uproot the tree, uproot the branches. And one branch broke until she grabbed another branch, and that broke as well, and she was left without the branch. So then, when this dream obviously worried her, and then she told her family the dream, and she was given some say it was Prophet Muhammad who was told about the dream, and he interpreted the dream as being that she would basically lose the support of her two brothers after Prophet Muhammad and Imam Ali passed away. That there will be severe calamities for her, and her suffering, or those who weep for her and her suffering, will be rewarded as those who weep for her brothers. And this is not the end of the story of Sayyidah Zainab, because in the Gilgamesh saga, it mentions how Gilgamesh and his sister weeps over him. And it mentions clearly, and the Sayyid has explained that refers to Sayyidah Zainab Sanamullah alayha weeping over Imam Hussein. So what that means is that she wept for Imam Hussein forever. Anyone who loves Imam Hussein and loves Imam Hassan will weep over them. And anyone who loves them will love Sayyidah Zainab. So this is basically a little intro into Sayyidah Zainab. Brothers and sisters, what else can we tell you about her? She accompanied Imam Hussein to Karbala, and in narration some say that when Sayyidah Zainab used to meet Imam Hussein, he used to stand in respect for her, and he would seat her in his place. And some people even say that Imam Zain al-Abidin narrates that he would say to Sayyidah Zainab, because of course Sayyidah Zainab, she survived Karbala, and Imam Zain al-Abidin survived Karbala as well. So Imam Zain al-Abidin used to say, "Oh aunt," here this is the one where alima ghair muallima. You are by the grace of God a scholar without a teacher, and a comprehender without being taught. And crying and lamentation do not bring back those whom time has taken away. So Imam Zain al-Abidin was given testimony to Sayyidah Zainab's knowledge. I mean, when you consider that truly it is difficult to cover what's in a history. In Karbala itself, Sayyidah Zainab was a support for Imam Zain al-Abidin when at the end when Imam Hussein alayhi salam was on his own. And he said that, "Son, there's only me and you left." And all the men who ask about Habib ibn Mudahir, Muslim ibn Awsaja, Zuhair ibn al-Qayn, all of them have been smitten, and there's only me and you left. Then Imam Zain al-Abidin, he wept, and he said to Zainab, he said, bring me a sword and bring me a staff. And Imam Hussein, it's narrated, he said to Sayyidah Zainab, take him back, don't let him come out, because we don't want this lineage to end. So Sayyidah Zainab, she rested him on against her chest so that he could sit up and talk to Imam Hussein. And then Imam Hussein called Sayyidah Zainab, called Ruqayya, called Kulthum, and he said, "This my son is your Imam, and he should be obeyed." And so Sayyidah Zainab remembered that, and she used to give them encouragement to keep going. And even in the battlefield, when the enemies were about to slaughter Imam Hussein, she would come out and she would be standing on she would go and stand on a hillock and come down and move backwards and forwards trying to see what's happening. And then she would try and stop the enemy from killing Imam Hussein. She tried to stop them from butchering him, but to no avail. But she knew these people by name. She knew the leaders of the other army by name, and they wouldn't stop. And then when they were dragging the prisoners of the Ahlul Bayt, putting them in chains, she was encouraging Imam Sajjad to be strong. And they even narrate that even during those tribulations, so the Zainab Salamullah alayha didn't leave Salatul Layl, praying to God like in Tahajjud. Somebody might think, well, why is that special? Well, the reason why it's special is because in such a situation, even a Sahabi would maybe turn against the Prophet, turn against God. You probably know the story where Ammar bin Yasir, his parents were captured in the time of the Prophet Muhammad, and they were tortured, and his mother was killed by, it's either Abu Jahl or one of the leaders of the Quraysh. He stabbed her in the private area, killing her this way, and they whipped his father. And Ammar bin Yasir, who the Prophet Muhammad used to say he is dipped from head to toe in faith. So Ammar bin Yasir at the time, he said, I denounce Muhammad and his religion, I denounce it, because he was trying to save his family, his parents. And then the Prophet Muhammad, when he came to see the captives, Ammar bin Yasir apologized to the Prophet. He said, Ya Rasulullah, I said some very bad things. And the Prophet Muhammad said, he said, if they do this to you again, say the same things again about me. You need to save yourself. So even in such a situation, even a Sahabi like Ammar bin Yasir, about whom the Prophet Muhammad said he is dipped in Iman and faith from head to toe. And they would say that when Ammar bin Yasir, when he was an indication of where the truth was or where falsehood was. So the narrations say Prophet Muhammad would say, تقتله الفئة الباغية, that the renegade group will kill Ammar bin Yasir. So when Ammar bin Yasir was killed in the Battle of Siffin, it says in the book of Sulaim ibn Qais that Ammar bin Yasir was there, and Uwais al-Qarni was next to him, and Khuzama Dhu Shahadatain was next to him. All three, as I remember, all three were smitten, they were martyred. So people used to say Ammar bin Yasir was killed in that battle, killed by the enemy of God, and that enemy was Muawiyah and his army. That's how high the Iman of Ammar bin Yasir was. And Ammar bin Yasir was given dispensation by the Prophet Muhammad to say bad about the Prophet Muhammad to save his life. Now just imagine, Sayyidina Zainab, despite her whole clan being martyred, the tents of the Prophet Muhammad's family, tents of Al Aqil, tents of Al Abbas, the tents of Al Ali, tents of Al Ja'far, all of them be set alight, and the enemies of God, the army of Yazid, coming in, snatching the scarves of their heads, snatching their bangles, taking the jewelry off them, exposing them, disrespecting them. Despite all of that, despite seeing them butcher Imam Hussein, and they didn't just kill Imam Hussein, they butchered him. They butchered him really badly, extremely badly. If you read the narrations, extremely badly. And we know this because later on, Mukhtar bin Ubaidah al-Thaqafi, he he caught them and he would torture them and he would make them confess, and they would tell him what they had done, and he would kill them. He forced them to confess, so we know what they did from the mouth of those enemies of God. So Sayyidah Zainab was seeing all of this, and she had the responsibility of protecting the lineage of Imam Hussein, the best of creation. And there was only Imam Hussein and Imam Zain al-Abidin, and then everyone else more or less slaughtered. So Sayyidah Zainab saw all of this, and she was still devoted to God. It's beyond our simple understanding of who these people were. These people were, for them, God was not a choice, but it was a necessity. So their worship of Allah, servitude to Allah, was beyond anything we can comprehend. I suppose sometimes you hear narrations from Imam Mahdi, Ajalallahu Farju al-Sharif, where he would say that Kaf, Ha, Ya, and Sad are 5 letters at the beginning of Surah Maryam. And he explained in his correspondence to his followers in the Al-Ghaiba Surah, the minor occultation, that Kaf means Karbala, Ha means Halakul Itra, meaning the destruction of the family of the Prophet. Ya means Yazid, Lanatullah alayh. Ain means Atsh, the thirst. Saad means Sabr, the patience. So in these 5 letters, one can say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God Almighty, was giving them training, teaching them that they're going to go through this. But still, if people like us, who are absolute nobodies, hear the story of Sayyidah Zainab and her patience and her endurance, and we weep and we fall into depression from just seeing this, how much pressure would they have felt, especially when Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, was telling his companions that it's me who they want. All of you are free to go. You can go, it's only me they want. And at that time, as I know, this was just before they reached Karbala, it was in Dhu Hassan. At that time, hundreds of people left Imam Hussein's side, and all who was left were 70 odd companions, some family members, and the women of his family. So those few individuals, they knew what was going to come. And amongst them was Sayyidah Zainab. Did Sayyidah Zainab Sallallahu Alaiha know she was going to survive? Allah knows best. Probably because Imam Hussein would have told her she's going to be supporting Imam Sajjad, and the Prophet told her she was going to endure a lot of hardship. So, and the Prophet Muhammad used to say, tell Sayyidah Fatima how his children, how Imam Hasan and Imam Hussein were going to be killed. And Sayyidah Fatima knew this. And she would sometimes say to the Prophet that she was worried about the loss of a progeny after her. So perhaps Sayyidah Zainab deduced that he didn't mention she was going to be martyred, therefore she would survive. Perhaps he mentioned that you will weep over your brother, meaning she'll continue to keep the narrative going about what happened in Karbala. Either way, the role that she had cannot be underestimated, cannot be overestimated. Just wanted to read a small, humble poem for Sayyidah Zainab. It's called Ah Zainab. Just before I do that, I would encourage all of us to read about Sayyidah Zainab's story, about what happened after Karbala, and what she said to the people, not only in the court of Ibn Ziyad, but also Yazid, Lanatullah alayhim jami'an. She cursed the people of Kufa. She said, do you realize what you have done? Whose blood you have spilled? What sanctity you have violated? She would say, are you surprised the sky rained blood and punishment of the hereafter is more harsh? So basically, all the historians say, and they're unanimous in this, that after Karbala, the sky rained blood. There were seen droplets of blood in Karbala. There's a book I would like you to please go and read. It's called Yanabi al-Mawadda. Yanabi al-Mawadda is not a Shia book. It's a Sunni book by Sheikh Balkhi al-Qunduzi. He was the Grand Justice of the Ottoman Empire. And he was a Hanafi. He was a Hanafi Sunni, meaning follower of Abu Hanifa, but somebody who had a good understanding of who the Prophet's family were. You just have to read his book and you will find all the references, not only to the lives of the Prophet's descendants, including 12th Imam, his occultation, including the miracles seen after Imam Hussein al-Islam was martyred, including the falling of the blood from the sky, including when the cursed enemies of God were carrying the head of Imam Hussein, how the blood was dripping, and everywhere the blood dripped, it said that the blood kept flowing from that spot, including when it says that either Yazid alayhi or Ibn Ziyad put the head of Imam Hussein on his leg, and the blood of Imam Hussein touched his leg, and it filled with pus, and eventually he died from that injury, that illness, including how the head was paraded all the way through to Syria, including where it stopped, including the role that Sayyidah Zainab had. So Sayyidah Zainab saw all these miracles. So she was referencing these things. Are you surprised the sky rained with blood? And she's saying that this is an indication of what's coming to you in the hereafter. So she said, let not waiting make it easy on you, because Allah need not rush your punishment, for your Lord is always waiting. When she said this, the narrator says, people that day were shaking and weeping. They had their hands in their mouths. He says, I saw an old man standing next to me until his beard became wet. And he was saying, by my father and mother, your children are the best of children, you are the best of the youth. Your women are the best of the women, and your descendants are the best of descendants. They are never graced and never overpowered. But my brothers and sisters, there's a difference between somebody who wished he had been there, and somebody who actively tried to get there, and somebody who actually reached there. So may Almighty God make us among those ones who not only have the desire to join Prophet's family and make the effort to join Prophet's family, but also reach them and support them. This is a short poem regarding the calamity of Sayyidah Zainab, the harshness and the difficulty she's faced. I'll just read the Arabic, and inshallah one of the brothers will read in the English. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ah ya Zainab, ah ya Zainab, مصائبك في قلبي تتوالى يوم رأيت الحسين وحيدا. آه يا زينب، آه يا زينب، مصائبك في قلبي تتوالى يوم رأيت الحسين وحيدا في كربلاء يجاهد العدا. آه يا زينب، آه يا زينب، كيف صبرت على ما جرى يوم رأيت الرؤوس مرفوعة على الرماح وأنت أسيرة. آه يا زينب، آه يا زينب، دموعك تسيل كالنهر الجاري يوم فقدت الأحبة جميعا في تلك الأرض القاسية الجرداء. يا زينب، يا زينب، مصائبك لا تنسى أبدا، ذكراك في القلوب خالدة، أنت رمز الصبر والوفاء. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون، والعاقبة للمتقين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الأئمة والمهديين وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الأئمة والمهديين وسلم تسليما. Just want to have a small contribution here from my daughter here. She's going to make a quick recitation. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad al-Mahdi wal-Mahdiin wa sallam taslima.
Shall I read the translation of this before, and she can end with her recitation?
Yeah, don't mind. Just at the end then, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So because we told everyone we're going to translate this last poem which you just read. So I'll just read that, and then you can, and then she can read her final thing.
Sure. Bismillah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. O Zainab, your tribulations flow continuously in my heart. The day you saw Hussein alone in Karbala struggling against the enemies. O Zainab, how did you endure what happened? The day you saw the heads raised on spears while you were captive. O Zainab, your tears flow like a running river. The day you lost your loved ones in that harsh and barren land. O Zainab, your tribulations will never be forgotten. Your memory remains eternal in our hearts. You are the symbol of patience and loyalty. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Okay, Bismillah. Time to read. Bismillah ar-Rahman
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Peace be upon you, O daughter of Muhammad al-Mustafa. Peace be upon you, O daughter of Ali al-Murtada. Peace be upon you, O daughter of Fatima Zahra. Peace be upon you, O daughter of Khadija al-Kubra. Peace be upon you, O aunt of dignified, holy servant of Allah. Peace be upon you, and Allah's mercy and blessings be upon you, O mother of misfortunes, Zainab. Peace be upon you, who showed her love for Al-Hussein, the wronged. Peace be upon her, eyes do not sleep, so as to guard the family of the Messenger of Allah.
Salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad al-Ummati wal-Mahdiyina wa sallim taslima. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad al-Ummati wal-Mahdiyina wa sallim taslima. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad al-Ummati wal-Mahdiyina wa sallim taslima. I think we have Nawha with Ahsanti. I think we have Nawha with maybe one of the brothers, right?
If you like, I can read the Hussein thing.
Sure. Bismillah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Woe on the day that you were killed while thirsty. Woe to the men who chose this world over you. Woe to the sun as it scorched the desert. Woe is your body as it lay in the sand. Woe is the infant that was killed in your arms. Woe to the horses as they trampled upon you. Woe on the night as it was filled with dread. Woe to the fire as it burned the tents. Woe on the day that you were killed while thirsty. Woe to the men who chose this world over you. Woe is your head as it was carried on a spear. Woe is your family as they walked in chains. Woe are the beloved as they were dragged across the streets. Woe to the towns as they watched them go by. Woe on the day that you were killed while thirsty. Woe to the men who chose this world over you. Woe to the treatment of your women on the journey. Woe are their deaths filled with suffering and pain. Woe to the prison as it added to the pain. Woe is the child that died while in grief. Woe on the day that you were killed while thirsty. Woe to the men who chose this world over you. Woe to the tyrant that wanted to be king. Woe to the army that followed his words. Woe on the day that you were killed while thirsty. Woe to the men who chose this world over you. Woe on the day that you were killed while thirsty. Woe to the men who chose this world over you. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعلى آل المحدين وسلم تسليما كثيرا.
We'll just finish with the dua. We'll just finish with the dua quickly. اللهم بحق فاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها اللهم مكن لقائم على محمد في الأرض السيد أحمد الحسن سلام الله عليه ومكن لبقية الله في الأرض محمد بن الحسن المهدي عليه السلام ومكن لأولادهما المنتجبين المصطفى الأخيار المهديين اللهم أصلح أمورهم وارزقهم الصحة والعافية اللهم تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم اللهم انصر الأنصار حول العالم اللهم قضي حوائجهم واحفظهم من كل سوء وداء ومكروه وريح قلوبهم وارزقهم الصحة والعافية واهدهم إلى الرشد سواء كانوا ممثلين في مكتب النجف الأشرف المبارك أم الممثلين حول العالم أم الأساتذة الكرام والطلبة الأعزاء في الحوزة المهدوية أم الإخوة والأخوات حول العالم اللهم احفظهم من كل سوء داء اللهم اشرح قلوبهم للعلم وننور قلوبهم وريح بالهم وارزقهم الصحة والعافية وبارك لهم في ذرياتهم وانشر الدعوة حول العالم على أيديهم وثبت أقدامهم ونور ألسنتهم وأرسل لهم روح القدس حتى تفك من ألسنتهم كل عقد يا رب العالمين ووفقهم للفصاحة والبلاغة حتى تدخل هذه الدعوة المباركة في كل بقعة من الأرض اللهم وفقنا لزيارة الأئمة الأطهار والمهديين وجعلنا معهم تحت راية الإيمان في الدنيا، اللهم اجعلنا في جوار محمد وآله عليه السلام في جنات الفردوس. وفقنا وارزقنا زيارة الصالحين بالعراق وبالحجاز وكل مكان اللي هم مدفونين فيها. Oh God, establish the Qaim of Ali Muhammad in the earth, Sayyid Ahmed Al-Hasan, and the remnants of Allah in the earth, Muhammad ibn Hasan al-Mahdi, and their progeny, the Mahdis, the chosen ones, the pious ones. Increase them in their time on earth, bless their health, bless them in everything, give them tranquility in their hearts, put us with them in this life and the hereafter, put our progeny with their progeny in this life and the hereafter, gather all of us under the banner of the Sayyid, of the Imani. Oh God, help all of the Ansar around the world, fulfill their needs, make their steps firm, and give them best of health, give them tranquility, whether they are representatives from the office in Najaf al-Ashraf, or whether they are representatives around the world, or whether they are teachers and students in the Hawza, or whether they are brothers and sisters around the world. Strengthen their matters, fix their matters, bring unity amongst all the Ansar. Help us to spread the da'wah around the world as you would like to see it spread. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله على محمد وعلى محمد الطيبين الطاهرين الأئمة والمهديين وسلم تسليم كثيرا. May God send blessings on Muhammad and family of Muhammad, Imams and Mahdis, and send peace and abundance. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon you and the blessings of God and His mercy.